This is the Wrestlebread podcast, bringing you the latest news, recaps, and analysis of AEW and WWE. Get the unique perspective from a wrestling fan of over 25 years. Here's your host, Jaydee.
What's going on, guys? This is Jaydee, and this is episode 144 of the Wrestlebread podcast. So we had March Madness starting last week. I don't keep up with a lot of college sports, so I really wasn't into March Madness this year. Normally, I just fill out the bracket and kind of call it a day. Have the wishful thinking of the, I think it's ESPN with the $1 million challenge or something. Like if you have the perfect bracket, you win. So I normally just fill it out just for that, and normally get knocked out in the first round. But from what I heard this year, from the first day of the games, that there were so many upsets, major upsets, that out of like 1 million brackets, it went down to 743, which is crazy. This is why I try to gamble with like 50 cents and stuff like that, because that was crazy. So if you are into March Madness and college basketball and stuff like that, wish you all the luck this past weekend. Or you may be pissed off as hell because your team lost in a very, drastic fashion. We also have springtime ahead of us. I'm a big person of spring, of course, because of my birthday and everything. Love the cooler weather, it's starting to warm up, stuff like that. It's not too hot and crazy. I know a lot of people don't like spring because of the allergies and everything. So, sorry for you, but yeah, I still like spring. Also, with the YouTube channel. So I filmed a reaction video in honor of Stone Cold 316 Day, and filmed it and everything, edited it, chopped it up, looked all good and fine and everything. Went to upload that sucker and immediately got a copyright strike. So I have to figure out what did I do wrong, because I've seen another YouTube channel react to another, like I was reacting to WWE's like top 10 videos. Seen someone else react to a top 10 video from WWE and there are no copyright strikes. I'm sure it's because they have a lot of subscribers or whatever, but I'm still like upset. So if you're wondering like what the hell happened to the YouTube channel last week that you didn't see any videos up, that's why, because my videos were like striked and removed. So yeah, but I'm going to be working on it. I still want to work on reactions or something like that, whether that may be reacting to non-WWE channel videos or something like that, but I'm working on it. So let's get into some news and rumors. First of all, WWE, somebody needs to tell them that WrestleMania is 2 weeks away. I really don't feel like we're in the WrestleMania season. Normally there's a lot of excitement in the air, and I'm not feeling any of it, especially the fact that they, their key word for this year's WrestleMania is stupendous, that this is going to be the most stupendous WrestleMania in history, with the biggest WrestleMania main event of all time, which, there's a lot of, the biggest WrestleMania match, they said, of all time, which is like one of the biggest, most ridiculous claims I've ever seen WWE say, because there are like matches upon matches that I can say is going to be bigger than this match. This isn't even the first time that we had I don't think this is the first time we had a winner take all at Mania. So I don't know. No, it's not the first time winner take all. I mean, we had Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton and Batista in a winner take all type of match. So I don't know what WWE is trying to do. Like, they're really trying to sell these tickets, which really isn't selling. And I will have to say this is the most stupendously worst build for WrestleMania of all time. And there's been other Manias where some of the build wasn't like that, but it's just very frustrating because, going back years upon years, there has always been a build on the fact that it's WrestleMania and we got these big matches, stuff like that. And it wasn't like really concentration just on one match like we're seeing here, and how it's like making like there's so much attention on just a few people now that everyone else feels like a mid card. And the perfect example was the men's Royal Rumble, where there was no surprise, there was no legends, there was only 3 surprises, and the rest of the roster was actually their wrestlers. And people were saying that, oh, this looks boring and stuff like that. This is mid card and stuff. So it's just a bit frustrating. And in my opinion, I feel like the reason why we're getting WrestleMania like this is because WWE is just coasting. And it's been coasting for a while. And I think now with the return of now the return of fans and a lot of indie shows, especially with AEW coming along, we got Ring of Honor coming back, New Japan and everything like that, that now is like really really noticeable that WWE is just coasting. As long as the networks, the stockholders, and the advertisers are happy with WWE, that's all that matters. And like they always say, they don't concentrate on wrestling. It's a media company that, does marketing. So their trigger word for, until WrestleMania is over is stupendous. And then, what we saw with the Saudi show was WWE continues to influence the world. That was their trigger words there. So it's going to continue to get frustrating. And unfortunately, people are going to still tune in to WrestleMania. People are still going to tune into Raw and SmackDown, and NXT's a bit different, but people are still going to tune in and buy tickets, stuff like that. Out of loyalty, the fact that we've been watching this for so long is just like kind of the word I'm trying to think of the word I really want to say, but kind of like the norm, I guess, that when Monday rolls around at 8 o'clock, you instinctively turn to USA Network to watch Raw. Now I know a lot of people are going to be tuning into Raw this week, and possibly something may or may not happen, which I'll get to in a moment. But there's still a lot of tickets available, which is shocking for WrestleMania. I remember when WrestleMania used to sell out. Like, it was at one point, tickets were selling out within hours. And so, people, loyalty. I was trying to think of habit and loyalty, the reason why people will tune in. I continue to tune in. When WWE is bad, it gets very bad. And a lot of times it's bad. But when it gets good, it's just like so good. I mean, and it feels like we're just riding on those good moments, like, Daniel Bryan and WrestleMania 30, Kofi Mania, and Becky, her rise to get the title, Bianca versus Sasha Banks, and Bianca's rise to get the title. There's just like, the good moments that we kind of like hold on to. And that kind of what keeps it going. But yeah, WWE is just, it's just so, it's not good. This doesn't feel special. And maybe because I continue to look at WWE with the same eyes that I've looked at WWE for the past 30 years, and maybe I should like take a step back and realize this is we're no longer this is no longer the Attitude Era, or not even the Attitude Era. Like, this is no longer the wrestling that we've been watching, that now we entered into a new era. They like to do the whole reality era and PG era. I think right now we are in a new era with WWE, whereas though there isn't a lot of concentration on wrestling, what's going on in the ring, but what's going on outside the ring, and the commercials and the marketing and stuff like that. That's the era that we're in right now. So I don't know. However, a little bit of excitement is starting to brew. It hasn't been too long though, and that is the report has come out from PW Insider that Cody Rhodes has signed a contract with WWE, and apparently it was signed almost 2 weeks ago. The plan right now is for him to debut at WrestleMania 38, which I think will be a very bad idea for them to hold off until WrestleMania 38. I feel as though, if you're going to build something to WrestleMania 38, like you can't give people the even though like more likely this even though this rumor is very true, but the fact that they're going to hold off his debut until WrestleMania weekend so that there's like zero build for this, I don't know. I'm hoping that maybe they'll let him appear at Raw because they still have to sell tickets. Like you can't, even though it worked for AEW, the fact that there was the rumor of CM Punk coming to AEW, like it wasn't anything like directly confirmed from AEW. So I guess WWE is trying to do a similar situation with Cody Rhodes where the rumor is out there, but they have yet to really confirm that he has signed. And instead just letting him show up at WrestleMania 38. Difference is that when CM Punk returned on a Rampage show, in Chicago. They're trying to get, there was no monetary value really for AEW to like sell a very big pay-per-view at that point, or to sell out a very big stadium, one of the biggest stadiums in America, Jerry World, and trying to sell it twice. So, in my opinion, I feel as though WWE is trying to sell enough tickets for this to be worth it for WrestleMania weekend. I checked Ticketmaster late last night, and there are still a lot of tickets available. And I'm not talking like floor seats or anything. Like there's a lot of nosebleed seats that are still available. And that was on both nights. Even the night that holds the biggest WrestleMania match of all time. But I'm sure a lot of people are still going to tune in and watch all 3 hours of Raw. And I know we're not going to hear adrenaline in my soul, something Cody Rhodes. But I am very interested to know what Cody Rhodes is going to come back as. Maybe he's going to be dashing, or maybe they're going to bring him back as like the same Cody Rhodes, or as Cody, I guess I should say, because he didn't turn to Cody Rhodes until a couple of weeks ago in AEW. But I am very curious of what's going to happen after WrestleMania. Once WrestleMania is done and over with, the ink is dried and he is there. How are they going to build him? Because WWE, you could look at it two ways. This is either a lose-lose situation for them or a win-win situation for them of how they're going to book Cody Rhodes. Because if they can book him strong, and then there will be this sense out there like, oh, this AEW person is taking over the WWE. However, they book him strong, then they can entice other people from AEW to jump ship to WWE and be like, okay, well, if they treat Cody Rhodes this way, then maybe there's a chance for me. Even though it is, the money really speaks. Contracts with WWE, I could tell you, probably surpass AEW for some people. And so, it'll entice people to possibly jump ship from AEW to WWE. However, if they decide, to not book him strong, then it's going to feel like it was not really a waste of time, but a waste of talent. It's just going to be one of those, was it worth it type of situations. I'm very curious to know how they're going to book him. I know they're going to book him strong for Mania, of course, because it's WrestleMania weekend. But I am curious, once we are in that dead zone, that September, October, November, December, that's off season, the technical off season for WWE. I would love to know how Cody Rhodes is going to be booked at that point. Because everyone gets booked strongly when they first show up. We've seen it happen time and time again. AJ Styles was booked very strongly, especially when he was on Smackdown. He was the face that run the place. And then he came over to Raw, and he was fine for a bit. And then he went to the tag team division, and it kind of went from there. But now, even though he's entering this feud with Edge, he hasn't been seen. Apparently, he's going to be on. He's coming back to Raw this week, but still, the build for this relied mainly on promos from Edge standing in the middle of the ring with blue lighting and stuff. That's a match that I'm very excited to see. More excited to see, the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, of course. But I'm hoping that Cody just comes back before Mania just to give it a build, just to bring some additional excitement to everything. I'm sure, Cody coming to WWE will generate excitement for people, but just this time of the year it should just be purely excited. Like, I was more excited for Revolution, leading up to Revolution, than I am right now for WrestleMania, and I don't like that. I really don't like that. I should be very excited for WrestleMania because I said it last week, WrestleMania season normally happens around my birthday, so it's like it feels like a week-long celebration for me and stuff like that. So it's a lot of excitement just in general, and I'm not really feeling that on the wrestling side of WWE, so, a bit of a bummer. Also, Toni Storm, she has launched an OnlyFans, her page went live, I believe it was Friday or Saturday or something like that. And apparently within 6 hours, she made over $20,000. Now, that number I don't think has been confirmed, but she does charge $20 for access for a month. And then one of her posting had like 1,800 likes or something like that. So yeah, I mean, if you just do the math based on how many people like the page, even though it's not really an indicator of how many people had subscribed, it's just like, damn, yo, she's doing what she wants to do. If she wants to do an OnlyFans and, post bikini photos, stuff like that, but hot damn, she made $20,000 in 6 hours. Damn it. That's, I mean, I'm not going to be on there, but geez, $20,000 in 6 hours is, go ahead, Toni Storm. Yeah, that's ridiculous. And, for people who don't like the fact that she is doing an OnlyFans page, hey, just people who are paying for bathwater, in certain places. So, people paying $20 just to see bikini photos. And plus, I lived through the era of Playboy and Playgirl, so, people subscribing to magazines and stuff like that just to see something, it is what it is. But congrats to Toni Storm and her OnlyFans page. Also, on the AEW side of the news, Matt Sydal had spoken on Twitter about his current status. Apparently, he had dislocated his knee a few weeks back, and that's why he hasn't been active on AEW. He said in Good News that there were no tears in his ACL, so he's just going to be, getting some physical rehabilitation, and then he'll be back better than ever. There was also a rumor, and I forgot to see where it came from, that that Brian Cage was coming back to AEW TV. I know there were a lot of people who are, big advocates for Brian Cage to come back. He wasn't sure exactly what he's going to be involved in, but there were some people out there who was hoping that he would be the new muscle for MJF. I think that would be very interesting. Just for something for him to do. If you're going to keep Brian Cage around, give him another shot, I guess. Give him another chance to see how the fans respond, especially the fact that he has been gone for a while. So going into the recaps, I'm going to start with AEW this time and then switch on back to WWE. This was a very interesting Dynamite. There was some really good parts of Dynamite, and there were some okay parts, I would have to say. First of all, let's start with the main event, the steel cage match for the AEW Women's Championship, Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker. I had mentioned this before as to why we had to have this match at Revolution and tonight. we could have easily had, like I said, we could have easily had booked it so that something happened to Thunder Rosa, maybe Britt Baker went and took her out or something like that, and then they don't fight at Revolution, but instead we get this steel cage match, and just kind of like build from there. But because we got the match at Revolution, I don't know, for me it kind of like it kind of didn't really make this match as special as I really wanted it to be. Now this was it was a good match between these two. The cage wasn't really used that much. I feel as though, I don't know, we could have easily had the women banned from ringside or something like that and still kind of had a pretty good match. But I don't know, when it comes to steel cage matches, I don't know if it's because of, I'm thinking of all the steel cage matches that we have seen, especially the ones that we saw on the men's side of AEW. But if you're going to introduce a steel cage or anything like that, there's an expectation for it to be used a lot more often. This was basically a hardcore match that took place inside of a steel cage, if that makes sense. First of all, these women definitely did some crazy ass spots with the chair tower from Britt Baker that she had did, and then there was also a referee bump as well, which of course was done just so Aubrey Edwards can come in as the ref as well. Shout out to Britt Baker for paying homage to Scott Hall with her gear. That was pretty cool. And then, of course, there was a spot with the thumbtacks, which I always cringe with the thumbtacks because you can't fake that. Apparently, people thought they were gimmicked or they were fake thumbtacks, which Britt Baker came on to Twitter and showed a video of what an arm looks like, which you see a bunch of holes from where the thumbtacks were, and then a lot of bruising because, thumbtacks really don't stay in place while you're wrestling. So she pretty much told everyone to fuck off and that they're not gimmicked or fake, which I thought was a bit crazy to think about anyway. Just like how the chairs aren't gimmick or fake either, that they were definitely falling on. Shout out to the crowd. That crowd was especially excited that Thunder Rosa had won the belt. I'm happy that she won the belt finally. I'm hoping that now there'll be a lot more different feuds that we'll have for the women's title. Maybe even get Sheeta involved at a certain point as well. But yeah, it was a good match. It had its ups and downs. There were some spots that was kind of slow. The chemistry between Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker is very good. However, it's just like, I don't know. I feel as though we really didn't need the Revolution match. But then at the end too, we also had Dustin Rhodes, who, since the other brother isn't here, came out to congratulate Thunder Rosa as well. We also had the Jericho Appreciation Society. We have a change of names now, because 2.0, their names were Matt and Jeff, which of course we already have another Matt and Jeff. So now Matt is called Daddy Magic Matt Minyard, and Jeff is now Cool Hand Angelo Parker. So, okay. But I was cracking up at this promo with Chris Jericho because Chris Jericho has announced that he is not a wrestler. He is a sports entertainer. And I loved it. The crowd, of course, really didn't like it. But I completely love the whole sports entertainer that Chris Jericho is now becoming. Because, yeah, people love to do this whole WWE versus AEW, all pro wrestling and stuff like that. And so just Chris Jericho is, now he is a sports entertainer. And I can't wait to see where this goes. One thing you got to give Chris Jericho credit for is that whenever something kind of feels stale, he reinvents himself. I mean, this man has been in the business for almost 30 years and he still keep things fresh. Very similar to The Undertaker, who, he keeps things fresh. Whenever something happens, he switch it up. I mean, he was the Phenom, then he became American Badass, and then became the Phenom again. And then, of course, he became like this weird mixture at the end when he was going against AJ Styles. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this Jericho Appreciation Society. Because, what Chris Jericho did with the Inner Circle, how, Sammy Guevara had rose to fame from that. So I'm interested to see. I'm hoping that it helps Daniel Garcia with this. Because, we have Jake Hager once again. There's the tag team. And then it's the other single star that could possibly rise to fame, which I hope is Daniel Garcia. We also had Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson versus Wheeler Yuta and Chuck Taylor. I was excited about this match, first of all. We had William Regal on commentary, which I'm all for that. Pretty much everything. This was, of course, the violence from Moxley and Danielson, but this all came. The best thing that happened was at the end. After the match, Yuta was leaving with the best friends, and then he kind of turned around and started to walk back to the ring, which I got excited for because I was like, yes, they got their first recruit. They mentioned him by name. Shout out to Wheeler Yuta as well. He's from Philly, so, Philly love. But yeah, he was getting fired up during the match too, telling Bryan Danielson to kick the hell out of him, which I'm like, yes, dude, show us your Rocky. But yeah, he came back into the ring. It looked like he was going to join them, but then of course William Regal gave him the slap of respect. I guess that's what I'm gonna call it. And it seems like William Regal's like, yeah, that hurt, don't it? I can't do William Regal's accent, so don't expect me to try. But basically, William Regal's like, yeah, it hurts, don't it? Come back to us when you're ready. And so it seems like we're definitely leaving it open for them to join Danielson and Moxley, which I'm very interested to see where this is going to go. Also, we had a crazy 6-man tag match with Hangman Page and Jurassic Express going against Adam Cole and Red Dragon. The triple moonsault in the match, like what the hell are you guys doing? And then there was a double doomsday device as well. One of the things too, and I'm sure Jim Ross had mentioned it, and I'm sure it drives other people crazy as well, is that when it comes to these tag team matches, it's like there are no rules. Like teams can be in there for like a good 5 minutes, especially when Rick Knox is the official. He's just like, whatever, like, you guys just fucking wrestle. I'm not even going to count. Like, I know there's this 20-second count for tag team matches, but it just seems like people be in there for a good like 20 minutes all together wrestling, and there's like no rules, which, at first I was fine with it because I'm like, it gives time for really cool double team moves and kind of get, everybody together to like pull off some really cool spots. But after a while, it's like, yo, you guys just might as well just have an actual rule that this is a tornado tag matches, because, some of these tag team matches or trios matches, it's just be like, there's like no rules to it or anything like that. But still, Jurassic Express showing us that, they're crazy as all hell. We also had the Hardy Boys versus Private Party, which was a matchup that I definitely was looking forward to. But this was okay, really. I don't know. It was okay. It wasn't what I thought it would be. The hot tag, of course, from Jeff drew the loudest reactions as well. Speaking of which, I will be talking about something that Jeff Hardy had mentioned. And then, of course, we had Scorpio Sky versus Wardlow, which, of course, we had MJF interfere, which I kind of figured would happen. He has to get paid back for the fact that he had lost the match against CM Punk because of Wardlow not realizing where he put the damn ring. The crowd was chanting for CM Punk. CM Punk did not come out, which I guess, I wasn't, which I guess, I don't know, I really wasn't expecting CM Punk to come out to save Wardlow, seeing as though, like, I don't know, Wardlow done fucked him up a couple of times, and well, somewhat, towards the end, he really wasn't trying to help with it, but still, Wardlow don't need no damn help. Like, Wardlow is Wardlow. He can get his ass beat, but I was happy that there wasn't a run-in from CM Punk to save Wardlow, because Wardlow's a big guy. I mean, he can get his ass whipped, and immediately he'll get his strength back. So I am happy that Scorpio Sky kept the title, of course. He definitely needs to get a title reign. But let's keep it going. Let's give him an actual feud to handle. Seeing as though we have what we got? We have Sammy Guevara getting involved and Tay Conti as well with it. But I'm hoping that Sammy Guevara just feuds with Ethan Page instead of Scorpio Sky. Give Scorpio Sky someone else to feud with. Sammy Guevara has been, among the TNT title picture for a very long time. We just need we need something fresh going as well. So going back to Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy was he was on a podcast. I forgot which one. But he had talked about how his last days with WWE, and he mentioned how he wasn't trying to get released. He said, quote, "It felt when he, jumped over the railing, of course, at that house show. It felt right in the moment. I wasn't trying to get released, just thinking about Survivor Series and how fun that was, the connection with the crowd, and they wanted me to win so bad. It made me think back to SummerSlam. It was a big crowd, and I was just there all day for nothing. Like, why am I even here? I was excited to be a part of it, some little spot or something, but I wasn't even involved. Why am I even here? Not just SummerSlam, but why am I still here in WWE? What's my purpose? Because it didn't feel like I had much of one." So yeah, of course, we all know the story about him jumping over the barricade. From the videos, like, it looked like he was sick or something like that. And he went over the he went over the barricade and kind of like went home. And so there was a lot of people who kind of came out and spoke out about this, fans, I should say. But according to him, he wasn't purposely trying to get released. He thought he could get away with something. And of course, they assumed that it was drugs, offered him rehab, and gave him a drug test. Before the results even came back, he was fired. So there was people who like took offense to what he did, felt as though it was unprofessional, stuff like that. But it's just like, if you guys really feel like Jeff Hardy is in the wrong for hopping over the barricade and, in the middle of a match, stuff like that, like, the word unprofessional came very hard. I'm going to give a hot take. I don't care who is offended by this, but keep that same energy for Mustafa Ali, who is currently under contract and is refusing to wrestle, period. Refusing to wrestle, and he's under the contract. He's going to sit out for exactly, I don't know how long, and is just refusing to work. So if this was an actor who is on contract with a movie and refuses to do the movie, I'm sure the word unprofessional will be thrown around as well. I just feel like it's the fact that Jeff Hardy left WWE and went to AEW that there's this dislike for what he did, and they felt as though it was unprofessional because everyone was on his side when it came out that he wasn't on drugs or anything, that he just hopped the barricade and was done. Just keep that same energy with Mustafa Ali. That's all I'm saying. And with all the people who are under contract and refusing to do work. And as far as like someone wanting, even if he wanted to be released, if he was done and wanted to quit, that's on WWE for them to let him go. They could have easily had suspended him like they normally do with a bunch of other people, or fine him, or just do whatever and keep it under wraps. There are other wrestlers who have done who had done stuff, and they didn't get fired or anything like that. So as far as like unprofessional, that's how it is working. I had worked for a company for 12 years. I was a manager, and I called on my day off and gave them a 2-day notice, for them to find a replacement. I'm sure that either you yourself or someone who has done a no-show at a job because they wanted to quit. I had quit a job. I quit the day of I was supposed to work because, first of all, I knew that they didn't want me to work because I was 16 years old, and they were scheduling me to work 4 to 8 every weekend. And this was during the summer, which of course I was available all throughout the week, but instead they gave me 4 to 8 o'clock. And it took me like 30, 60 minutes to get there, and I like quit same day. And I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who have stories of how they quit a job over a text message, or how they just did a no call, no show, or, came in, cursed out the boss, and, said, F it, I'm out. So as far as calling Jeff Hardy like unprofessional and saying how he shouldn't have got signed by AEW because of what he did, like how he quit on WWE, that's how the world turns. It really is. If WWE can call someone up on a Thursday morning or a Thursday afternoon and say that you're fired, and you have a 90-day clause for you to not go anywhere else, people could turn around and say that I quit. Like, I don't get why it's not the same thing. It's up to WWE to, as we see, to let someone go. Because we have people who want to work for WWE who got released, and we have someone currently sitting on their ass at home who doesn't want to work with WWE and didn't get released. The same thing happened with Brody Lee. Brody Lee wanted to leave, and he didn't get released. And there was a lot of support for that. And there's a lot of support for Mustafa Ali. Let's call it what it is. Mustafa Ali is reneging his contract and is essentially quitting. So, you gotta keep things consistent here, guys. We have to keep things consistent here. So I didn't really watch Rampage like that. I kind of like saw things on the YouTube channel, and I see that Keith Lee is teaming up with Swerve Strickland, which, I didn't think that would be on my bingo card for 2022 wrestling, but, here we are. So switching on back to WWE, I didn't really watch a lot of SmackDown. I did see the segment with Brock Lesnar using the forklift to take out the windows of the car, and then WWE, for some stupid ass reason, went to commercial after that, and then showed what happened during the commercial, which, their timing with these commercials sometimes, and AEW does it some as well, and they love to, Excalibur loves to yell out picture in picture. The timing of some of these commercials are just like mind-blowing, because you have a really good segment that, could have really propelled, especially the whole biggest WrestleMania match of all time. You have this segment, of course, with Brock Lesnar and his forklift of him trying to kill Roman Reigns, the Uso, and Paul Heyman, and then you go to commercial, and then you sit there and show people what happened during the commercial. First of all, I think it was Jey Uso who was sitting in the driver's seat, obviously laughing, trying to look like he was hurt by the glass or something like that. And then I was cracking up during this segment because I was catching things as I was watching it. So then they cut to them, and I see why. Now really thinking about it, I see why this isn't live, and they had to play it back. Because they got out the car, right? And then the camera cuts, you see them walking down a hall, and I think it was Roman who looked behind him as if Brock Lesnar was coming behind them, and they found a truck. They get into the truck, and one of the Usos go, 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 go. And then they pull the camera back, and it's Brock Lesnar who is getting off the forklift, and the truck is behind him, which means that Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, and the Usos got out of the truck after the forklift hit it, went in a complete circle just to end up behind Brock Lesnar, which made zero sense, especially for with Brock Lesnar, flipping the car over and stuff like that, as if they were still inside. It really didn't make any sense. I was cracking up when I was sitting there watching it as well. Of course, they're continuing this whole Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. Charlotte Flair calling her a one-trick pony and all this other stuff, which don't make any sense because Ronda Rousey, showed that she does an ankle lock now instead of an arm bar as well. And then, we also have Sasha Banks and Naomi versus Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, which was somewhat of a good match, but then of course it led to a no contest because Natalya and Shayna Baszler came out, and then they got entered into the WrestleMania match, which kind of confuses me because if they were able to get a WrestleMania match by interfering in a match, I don't get why Seth Rollins is such is unable to get a WrestleMania match, which makes zero sense. And then apparently Pat McAfee was called to Vince McMahon's office, but they didn't show what happened in Vince McMahon's office. So, just the little things that WWE tends to miss, of course. Also, where the hell is Alexa Bliss? Apparently she mentioned how they kind of don't have anything for her. Which, somebody needs to tell WWE it's WrestleMania season. WrestleMania is 2 weeks away. We need to get things going. And then WWE had showed this video package with Big E. And if you look back at it again, some of the names were spelled wrong. I noticed when I saw Bobby Lashley name was spelled wrong on their on the video, but also you see Mike Foley had said something. Oh, and first of all, they used the actual at for Bobby Lashley, which is at Fight Bobby. But for Mike Foley, they use at Real Mike Foley, and there is an actual Twitter account for at Real Mike Foley. Poor guy. I'm sure people are gonna start tagging him. And then there was Mercedes, which is Sasha Banks, and that is Sasha spelled Shasha. Sasha. So, and that which is an actual Twitter account, of course, but however, it's been suspended. So somebody messed up, and I'm sure, somebody's gonna get fired, but Sasha, that's how you pronounce her name now. So going on to Raw, and I spoke about Raw previously, the fact that everyone and their mama has been waiting for Cody Rhodes to show up. Bianca Belair was attacked by Becky Lynch. She had put a chair around Bianca's neck and then threw her into the turnbuckle post. They had announced that Bianca Belair has suffered a fractured hyoid bone in her throat, and I was like, where the fuck is that bone? Apparently it's a bone that's right underneath your chin, between your chin and your neck. But yeah, it was fractured, suffered from the attack, and Bianca Belair will not need surgery, but she will be out of action for an unspecified amount of time as she recovers. Someone please tell WWE we are 2 weeks away from WrestleMania. So I don't know what y'all mean by this unspecified amount of time. We are 2 weeks away from WrestleMania. And I also didn't watch NXT this week. So yeah. I heard it was good. I didn't even watch whatever that last event that they had, and Dolph Ziggler won the damn title. I ain't even checked that out, but I already know that this is going to lead to to Braun Breaker winning the title at Stand and Deliver. So yeah, so now looking into the WrestleMania lineup after this SummerSlam, after this SmackDown. So night one, we have Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey for the SmackDown Women's Championship, Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship, the Usos versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, Dominic and Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul and The Miz, Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin. Now that should have been named the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin. And then, of course, the KO show with guest Steve Austin, which they're continuously trying to push as this is Steve Austin's in-ring return since his first time in the ring since 19 years ago, which I don't know. They're really trying to put pressure on Stone Cold Steve Austin to wrestle, and it seems like Stone Cold just really doesn't want to wrestle. So that's why they're continuing with this whole show promotion, but making it seem like Stone Cold Steve Austin is actually going to be wrestling. But we'll see what happens once we get to WrestleMania. Now for night 2, we have Edge versus AJ Styles, Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory, a stipulation that was announced during SmackDown, which is an anything goes match, Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn. I don't know why we didn't say, a hardcore match or, no holds barred or anything like that. But instead we're just going to say anything goes. Okay, all right, whatever. WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match. Now, it's been updated. Queen Zelina and Carmella versus Sasha Banks and Naomi versus Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan versus Shayna Baszler and Natalya. And then the biggest WrestleMania match of all time. Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship, Universal Championship, winner take all title unification match. And then a match that still hasn't been named for either night for the Raw Tag Team Championship, RK Bro versus the Street Profits. People who are missing, first of all, we have the IC title missing. We have the United States Championship missing as well. So I don't know what we're going to do with Ricochet and Finn Balor. It may be Finn Balor versus Damian Priest, and then Ricochet, I don't know who we're going to have Ricochet go against, but we also have where the hell is Alexa Bliss? Who else? It was somebody I just thought of. Oh my gosh, I forgot who it was. It was another tag team that is missing, and I don't know what we're going to do with them. And then, of course, we have more likely going to happen is the Andre the Giant Battle Royale match as well. And then the Women's WrestleMania Battle Royale match as well. Apparently, there's going to be a 2-hour pre-show for each night. And then, of course, the NXT Stand and Deliver, which is going to be happening at noon Eastern that day as well. It's going to be a very long weekend, yo. It's going to be a very long weekend. But yeah, it's very sad. Looking at this card, Edge Styles is interesting to me. Stone Cold Steve Austin, what is he going to do? But for them to really hype this up as the biggest WrestleMania match and most stupendous WrestleMania of all time, which is WrestleMania 35 was more exciting than this card. You got Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin. None against Happy Corbin, the person behind the gimmick, but Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin, that's a match that would happen on Raw. That's not a WrestleMania match. Like I said, the WWE is just coasting. It's just all about the brand. It's not even about WrestleMania. Normally WrestleMania, you hold off the biggest matches. I mean, the biggest WrestleMania matches of all time. You hold off the really big matches until this time. The Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair, I'm fine with that. Especially this is something that we're waiting for Bianca Belair to get her title back. Edge versus AJ Styles, And then, we'll have the celebrities because they normally have celebrities. So, Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn, the Logan Paul and the Miz, which, it's just been weird with the way they're trying to do Miz, that he turned on his own city that he always hype up no matter what. But, it is what it is. But yeah, and then of course, allegedly Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes. But I'm hoping that Cody Rhodes show up and that we don't have to wait until WrestleMania to happen in order for him to show up. Come on. Let's work on the build here. Somebody needs to tell them that we're 2 weeks away from WrestleMania. But that's it for the Wrestlebread podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Let me give some shout outs. Shout out to Julian Rob Bates from Wrestling Court Podcast and AlterativeMinds.com. Keita and Jay from the Keita and Jay Show. Chris from We Talk Next Podcast, which is featured on the Keita and Jay Show. Dando and Larry from Half K Podcast. Devin Hafiz from Clark Street Wrestling Podcast. Also shout out to Straight Talk Wrestling Podcast. Circle of Debate. Top Rope Wrestling Talk as well. And then shout out to Dirty Heels, who just had their 100th episode last week. So thank you so much for listening. Coming up next week, I'll be talking more about the road to WrestleMania and then whatever else is going on AEW Dynamite. Be sure to hop on Twitter. Follow me at JDC137. That's JAYDEE, the letter C, 137. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at Wrestlebread. Click the links in the profiles to get the Instagram, the Facebook, the TikTok, and the YouTube as well. I'm trying to continue to work on the YouTube. I'll figure out the whole copyright crap that I had to go through. But leave a review. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know how you feel about WrestleMania coming up. Are you excited? What will get you excited? I'm sure it's going to have to be a lot of damn changes to what they already have here in order to get you excited for it. But fingers crossed that they'll pull out a miracle in the next 2 weeks. But, I'm not holding my breath for it anyway. But thank you so much for listening. And until next time, guys, peace.